The Duke and Duchess adopted a boy as a companion for their son, but during the bath, they discovered the child was actually a girl. Roni trembled with fear. Her sweet and adorable appearance instantly captured Andy's heart. He was snoring within moments. Lonnie decided to explore the area while he slept. Royal status, I came here to prove this point. The princess who made the accusation panicked, hastily claiming Lonnie was insulting the royal family. However, the emperor warned her with a subtle expression. If she was lying, even the Mars family would be implicated. Lonnie would never allow that to happen, and only she could resolve this matter. The emperor then asked the high priestess to verify. The high priestess approached with a sacred artifact. She touched Lonnie's forehead and infused divine power. Instantly, Lonnie's pupils turned bright blue. Everyone present widened their eyes, including the emperor and the duke couple. Because the divine power Lonnie displayed was unprecedentedly powerful. The emperor immediately smirked, already planning how to use her, so she didn't conduct a deeper blood lineage test. Instead, she recognized Lonnie as her long-lost daughter. Looking closer, you do resemble me. You're about the same age as the fourth prince. You should make good companions. When you're officially crowned princess, I'll give you a new name. The lake here was incredibly beautiful. She decided, as she had done before, to climb a tree for a better view. Lonnie never imagined she would leave the Duke's mansion this way, but to resolve the current predicament, this was the only way. I have something to say to your majesty. It was Lady Mars who noticed my divine power. Without them, I might never have known my true identity. Therefore, I hope that in this matter, no one from the Mars family will be implicated. At these words, the emperor who had intended to punish the Duke's household was left speechless. The tactless princess still wanted Lonnie punished, but was instead scolded by the emperor for spreading rumors. Fearing punishment, the princess quickly shifted blame to Lydia. She resented Lady Lonnie and even instigated others to kidnap Princess Lonnie before. That person was her. The emperor made an example of her, ordering soldiers to imprison her. Lydia kept begging Lonnie for help, pleading for mercy. But today's shoes were clearly unsuitable. However, remembering everything that happened in childhood, Lonnie felt no sympathy for her. She turned and left directly. After returning to the Duke's mansion, everyone came to comfort her worriedly. Lonnie pretended to be very strong, but yes, saw through her facade. If you don't want this, the Duke's household will do everything to help you. It's all right, brother, yes, I've been very happy growing up in the Duke's mansion. Thank you for raising me. Thank you everyone for everything during this time. I'll go now, please take care everyone. Lonnie hurriedly left the room. Once she was gone, the Duke's household would be safe. However, the next moment, Brother Yes hugged her from behind. Lolo, remember this. No matter what happens, you'll always be part of the Mars family. We'll always be by your side. Lonnie finally broke down. She turned and hugged Brother Yes, cherishing this last moment of warmth. Halfway up, she suddenly lost her grip and fell. At the very last moment, a handsome young man appeared and caught her. After all, the emperor was wary of the Duke's household. She wouldn't easily let them meet again. Until the emperor's officials kept urging, Lonnie finally smiled and bid everyone farewell. Just after returning to the palace, the emperor introduced her to Count Castor. How beautiful is my daughter? Who would have thought the mother-daughter reunion would happen this way? The countess wanted to tell the emperor everything, but Lonnie interrupted first, saying she felt unwell and wanted to leave, clearly not wanting to acknowledge their relationship. Castor was sad for just a second, then made an outrageous decision. To arrange marriage between her daughter Lonnie and son Hao. To expand Hao's influence, the girl returned to the palace as a princess, which made her brother very sad, blaming himself for failing to protect his sister. If he had power, would things have been different? Just then, he heard someone calling brother. He thought Lolo had returned, but opening the door, he found nothing. Who was this boy? This wasn't like his usual self. He could only hold Lolo's doll and miss her. Meanwhile, in the palace, Bianca awkwardly called Lonnie, and their childhood friendship suddenly changed status, making both of them very uncomfortable. So Lonnie suggested they be casual and private. Bianca hugged her, crying, apologizing for her insincere words earlier. After they sat down, Lonnie hurriedly asked Bianca about the Duchess's health. She asked me to tell you she's doing well at the Duke's mansion. She's more worried if you're eating properly. Don't worry about anything, just focus on being happy here. My brother and I will take good care of you. Lonnie felt slightly relieved hearing this, though she came to the unfamiliar palace. At least she still had precious people around. Just then Bianca took out a pink cloth package, saying Yes asked her to deliver it. Lonnie opened it puzzled, finding an exquisite hairpin inside. Though Yes didn't say anything then, I could feel how much he misses you. A girl falls from a 100-meter tree and is caught by a handsome stranger. Lonnie's face turned red instantly. Seeing this, Bianca was overjoyed. That night, Lonnie had a dream. In the dream, she wore that hairpin and brother Yes appeared beside her, embracing her tightly, constantly expressing his longing. I miss you so much. Lonnie suddenly opened her eyes. She mocked herself for dreaming about brother Yes because she missed him so much. However, the next moment, someone appeared in her room out of nowhere. When that person removed their cloak, Lonnie finally saw clearly who it was. It was brother Yes, whom she had been thinking about day and night. Oh, you're still awake, Lola, I came to see you. Hearing brother Yes' comforting words, Lonnie instantly broke down. They embraced each other. She instantly developed a crush on the unfamiliar boy. The next moment, she learned he was the Duke's eldest son. I miss you so much, brother Yes, Lonnie unconsciously spoke her heart out. This surprised Yes greatly, however the movement in the room caught the guard's attention. Yes knew it was time to leave. He crouched down and pressed his forehead against Lonnie's. Our Lola will be alone again, but you must take good care of yourself, eat and sleep well. Okay, thus ended their brief meeting. The next day, Lonnie went to the royal temple. She hadn't seen Lohan since last time. She heard he had been transferred here. Just then the Pope appeared with Lohan. As Lonnie understood, the Pope's status was equal to the High Priestess, but held significant secular power. Thus his position in the palace was no less than the High Priestess. After brief greetings, Lonnie and Lohan went to the outer courtyard. During his days here, Lohan had discovered very interesting information. Yes, it returned home early today, so he went to the forest to meet his younger brother and to see what the girl his father had mentioned in his letter looked like. The current royal family claimed they were from the same family as Cloyd, who founded the empire, sharing the same bloodline. But rumors said that the founding emperor was actually from the Mars family. His name was Drona Mars. Her long-lost mother wanted her to marry her own brother. Just now Lonnie accidentally learned. The Mars family's ancestors, like the royal family, had legitimate right to inherit the throne. Normally, such topics were forbidden, but Lohan said he accidentally overheard others discussing it. He was clearly hiding something, but Lonnie didn't force him to reveal everything. Instead, she let him leave. If what he said was true, it meant that the empire's rightful rulers should be the Mars family. That's why the royal family was so wary of the Mars family. For the thinking, if the Mars family's founder was indeed a woman and successfully ascended to the throne, it meant princesses also had inheritance rights. At this, he suddenly smiled at Lonnie. The girl blushed crimson. That day, later, Lonnie met an unexpected person. It was Ayn, who had cared for her since childhood. The Duke had pulled strings to let her in. She became Lonnie's personal maid again. I dressed her hair as usual. This reminded Lonnie of her days at the Duke's mansion. Time had passed without her noticing, and I brought her very important news. The royal family was selecting a personal knight for her. They would hold a sword tournament outside the palace. The winner would become her personal knight. Lonnie immediately thought of brother Yes, but this thought only lasted for a second because she knew royal guards couldn't marry. After all, guards with families were considered vulnerable. Their loyalty couldn't be guaranteed. Just then, Lady Tash requested an audience outside. Lonnie didn't want more people to know about this. So she asked Ayn to step aside. Unexpectedly, the Countess hugged her. Just then, Annie leaned closer and asked, Lonnie, why aren't you eating? The name Lonnie puzzled Yes. Saying it was her birthday today, then took out a beautiful necklace as a gift, but Lonnie firmly refused it. The fact that you're my birth mother cannot be made public, and I remember I've already clearly refused you. The woman didn't expect Lonnie to be so resolute. She realized she needed to try harder. So she began playing on emotions. No matter what, you're my child. I didn't abandon you intentionally. I searched the entire village thinking you were dead. You're not the emperor's child, but the child of the deposed crown prince. So I couldn't search openly. The current emperor is selfish. If you lose your value, you'll be discarded. So to secure your position, you must rely on your brother. Lonnie felt a chill run down her spine. Clearly, she meant marrying her to a brother she'd never met. She thought her mother would feel guilty, but this was unexpected. What am I to you, really? Isn't this the legendary cute little sister? He immediately ran to his father, pleading with him to let Ronnie stay. Brother, you can call her Lonnie, that's the nickname father gave her, caught out. The Duke was a little embarrassed. This was your purpose from the beginning, wasn't it? If I had gone to the Count's mansion then, I would have become an illegitimate child, barely surviving. My lady just wanted to use me all along. With that, Lonnie resolutely asked the woman to leave. Several days later, the sword tournament arrived. Today was the day to choose her garden knight, and she learned shocking news from mine. Brother Yes would participate in this competition to become her knight, to see his sister every day. He voluntarily entered the garden knight selection. Once chosen, he could never inherit his title or marry and have children. And this arena showed no mercy. Even losing one's life would only prove their lack of strength. Lonnie kept praying in her heart, brother must stay safe. Soon the competition began. Before long, Yes made it to the finals. The Emperor was very displeased about this, and Princess Erin, who liked him, was even more unhappy. She directly proposed a marriage alliance between Yes and the royal family. Lonnie knew that if the Emperor agreed, even brother Yes couldn't easily refuse. He tried to maintain his composure. It suits her. It does suit her. I'll call her Lonnie too. Therefore, she pointed out the unreasonableness of proposing marriage to a tournament participant. Unexpectedly, the Emperor turned and asked her, do you want the Mars family's eldest son to be your knight? The atmosphere instantly turned cold. Fortunately, Lonnie thought quickly. She stated that changing rules midway would affect the royal family's reputation. Besides, if someone from the Mars family became a knight, wouldn't that mean they'd serve the royal family? The Emperor immediately saw the logic. Perhaps they could even use this to suppress the Mars family's influence. Sure enough, Yes won the competition. The Emperor, knowing that becoming a royal guard meant forfeiting inheritance rights, sarcastically remarked about the Mars family's bright future. However, Yes ignored this. Instead, he knelt before Lonnie. I, Yes of the Val's family, wish to swear allegiance to the princess. Will you accept my oath of loyalty? He then kissed the back of her hand. I hope my request doesn't put too much pressure on the princess. Lonnie had intended to introduce herself elegantly with her new name, but that plan was now ruined. Hearing these words, Lonnie finally smiled with relief. With brother Yes by her side, it seemed any difficulty could be overcome. After returning, Yes again explained his purpose for coming. I came to protect you voluntarily. Father also wanted me to do this, so you don't need to worry about anything. They briefly forgot everything else, embracing tightly, savoring this hard-won moment of happiness. Yet they didn't know danger was approaching. Meanwhile, the Duke received news about reclaiming Ghost Senbo Station. However, this was a crucial moment in the campaign against Grandies. They feared unexpected incidents might occur. There was another important piece of news. Count Louis, formerly from Felton of D Kingdom, had requested the Emperor to marry Princess Erin to him. Normally, the Emperor had no reason to refuse. Once, Louis had personally beheaded Felton's military leader, allowing the Empire to easily reclaim Felton, but the Duke completely disapproved of this man. He also had a feeling that Felton might likely be restored. Looking at various clues, Lewin was likely the missing son of the Grand Duke of Felton. Suddenly, Annie shoved a piece of cake in Alani's mouth. The sweet strawberries and cream were delightful. They looked exactly alike. He just hoped Lonnie wouldn't get caught up in these troublesome affairs. Meanwhile, the cheerful Lonnie received an unexpected visitor. The High Priestess had also noticed something. She asked Lonnie about Lewin. Although Lonnie had grown up with Lewin, she actually didn't know much about him. Just then, the High Priestess revealed shocking information. Lewin had a hidden identity, and the royal family would soon be embroiled in bloodshed. The newly recognized princess was assassinated at the banquet. Today was her first appearance as a princess, yet she could only gaze from afar at her family from the Duke's mansion. Thankfully, with brother Yes beside her, she didn't feel so alone. However, due to her status, everyone present, regardless of their motives, tried to engage her in conversation. So brother Yes had to personally fetch drinks. And through this New Year's banquet, Lonnie clearly saw that the Emperor favored the fourth prince. He even made excuses to prevent the Crown Prince and Princess BB from attending, just as she was looking around out of boredom. The Duke and Duchess watched the scene beaming, but the eldest son stared at her menacingly. An assassin disguised as a maid rushed out. Fortunately, Yes arrived in time. Chaos immediately erupted. Yes overwhelmingly subdued the attacker and discovered the woman's true identity. She was a discriminator from the conquered enemy state of Senbo. After the attacker was taken away, Yes immediately went to check on Lonnie's condition. Although she wasn't injured, she was clearly severely shocked. She was terribly frightened. Despite being prepared, she still couldn't accept the cruelty here. This incident threw the Duke's mansion into disarray, and yes, realized that merely protecting her by his side wasn't enough. Lolo needed to be taken away from the Emperor, so they usually loyal, yes, surprisingly proposed forcing the Emperor to abdicate. After all, the current Emperor only cared about his own interests, neglecting the Empire's people. The Duke actually began to seriously consider this. Weakening royal power and strengthening their own force was the practical solution. What was going on? Suddenly the butler announced the arrival of guests. Soon, by royal command, I will lead troops to suppress the rebellion in Felton. The severe cold and imperial journey were unfavorable, but the Duke had already planned. We can't trust the Emperor anymore. We must protect Lolo ourselves. Days later, Lonnie received news that the Duke was injured and missing during his campaign. The last sighting of the Duke was at the Iris Valley where fighting had occurred. He might have been ambushed while searching for food and water. Being near cliffs, he likely met with misfortune. Lonnie collapsed in grief. This deeply affected Yes, he ordered everyone to leave. Then told Lonnie that her father was still alive. Details couldn't be discussed here, but first he needed to take her to meet someone. Lonnie thought they were going to see the Duke. Unexpectedly, Yes asked how much she knew about Lohan. We're going to the church, though you'll learn some important facts, not just about your father's whereabouts, but also about your friend Lewin. To protect a girl with no blood relation, the usually loyal Duke was plotting to suppress the throne. It was the Marchioness and her daughter, the Duke's sister and niece. Just now, Lonnie followed Yes to the church. She met Lewin, who had been missing for long. After brief greetings, Lonnie asked why she was brought here. Yes truthfully explained the Duke's disappearance was pre-planned. The Duke, disapproving of the Emperor's autocracy, wanted to check royal power. Only with the Mars family's absence would neighboring countries take action. Then the royal family would have to rely on the Mars family's strength. However, unexpectedly, the Emperor also tried to eliminate the Duke. So after the attack, the Duke took the opportunity to hide. Hearing about the Duke's injury, Lonnie was extremely worried. To prevent her from worrying too much, Yes didn't reveal the actual extent of his injuries. Instead, he said the Duke was hiding safely in a secret base. Their intimate behavior deeply hurt Lewin, but he chose to keep his feelings hidden. In that case, how long will the Duke have to hide? Just a few months at most, until the Empire's control weakens and the occupied territories start rebelling. The women were clearly looking for trouble. Then the royal family will need the Mars family's help. But why is Lewin here? What's his connection to all this? The Duke gave me a suggestion, asking if I wanted to reclaim Felton. Lonnie suddenly realized Lewin was actually the missing son of the Felton Grand Duke's family. The Duke hopes I can become Felton's Grand Duke and lead to rebels to help him. The Duke had approached him days before the incident. Initially, Lewin had no plans to restore his country, only wanting to stay by Lonnie's side, because Lonnie was his new goal and reason to live. But the Duke told him his sister, who supposedly committed suicide, was still alive, and she was being imprisoned in the traitor Lewis mansion, living the rest of her days in darkness. Moreover, becoming Felton's Grand Duke would give him the power to better protect Lonnie. How could he refuse such a beneficial arrangement? I hope you can forgive me for not staying by your side. They held hands, encouraging each other, blessing each other. Soon the Emperor received news of Felton's rebellion. Clearly, without the Mars family, no one could stop the occupied territories from rebelling. The helpless Emperor was furious. It turned out the spiteful maid had embellished the story, saying Lonnie was cunning, disguising herself as a boy to infiltrate the mansion, tricking the Duke into giving her a noble surname, and even taking over his old room. But when thinking of Lonnie, he showed a very sinister smile. Season 2 quietly concluded, border unrest. The treacherous Emperor had no one to use. So Lonnie became the key to solving the problem. He immediately tried to have Yes desecrated. Because the Imperial Guard couldn't break their oath and orders from the Emperor would be criticized. So now the best solution was for Lonnie to dismiss him personally, let Yes return to inherit the Mars family. Then lead troops to suppress and recapture Beau Felton. Lonnie couldn't believe it. The Emperor knew the Duke was in danger, yet took no action. Now he wanted brother Yes to follow the same fate, so she directly refused this proposal. But unexpectedly, the Emperor's face changed instantly. Do you want the Mars family eliminated? The Dog Emperor not only threatened verbally, but also kept applying pressure. At that moment, Lonnie's divine power activated unconsciously. Sophia was determined to get rid of Lonnie, and her daughter Lydia had taken an immediate interest in Yes. She saw the Emperor ordering people to disguise as Felton forces to eliminate the Duke and create false documents framing the Mars family for colluding with enemy states. Sure enough, the Emperor immediately used this to threaten her, but if he has achieved merit on the battlefield, he could make amends. I will also forgive his father's mistakes. Lonnie knew direct confrontation was useless now. She could only pretend to know nothing and smile hypocritically with him. That night, Lonnie disguised herself and went to find Yes, and told him everything exactly as it happened. Although I got his promise, I still have to send you to the battlefield. I'm very afraid you'll get hurt. Yes immediately grabbed his hand, comforting that such worries won't come true, but don't do such dangerous things anymore. What if the Emperor notices? Remember, always put yourself first. After all, you're my most important person. Such touching words made Lonnie's heart flutter, and Yes felt the same way. So she made a promise. I don't mind, I really like her. These words instantly gave Roni a glimmer of hope. Just then, Yes noticed Lonnie's glass was empty. Even if I step down from the Imperial Guard position whenever you need me, I'll come back immediately. Until then, please stay safe. Okay, although they hadn't openly addressed their feelings, but how is this any different from a confession? They stayed close to each other, cherishing this rare moment of warmth. Soon came the day of Yes' departure banquet. The fourth prince whom they hadn't formally met appeared. By blood relations, they were half-siblings sharing the same mother. But from their father's generation, he was his uncle's child, so the fourth prince calling him sister was confusing. And when learning that the Emperor had arranged Hao as his dance partner for this banquet, couldn't help but be surprised. What exactly were they planning? And on the way to the banquet hall, Hel also said strange things, sister, only if I become Emperor will mother be happy. That's all. After their entrance, Hao left the place. He stood up to refill it for her. This gesture infuriated Lydia. The long unseen Duchess took the chance to talk with him. Their polite but distant interaction made Lonnie sad. However, the next moment the Duchess quietly moved closer, whispering in his ear that if you encounter any difficulties, you can tell us. We'll always stand by your side. Family who understand each other need no excessive words. The moment of parting quietly arrived. Yes, as the head of the Mars family swore loyalty to the royal family, then looked at Lonnie lovingly and said, I also swear to protect the Empire with my life and let no harm come to Her Highness. No one could predict what the outcome would be, and thus the horn of war was sounded. The malicious mother and daughter were already plotting Lonnie's expulsion. The tea party ended shortly after. Andy grumbled, saying he didn't like his aunt and Lydia. Annie always lectures me about everything. And Lydia always follows brother around, treating me like a servant. But now I have Lonnie, I can just play with Lonnie. He happily pulled Lonnie toward his room, then noticed her hands were covered in scrapes. It turned out they were from her fall from the tree. The doctor was puzzled. The wounds were fresh, yet already showing signs of healing. Do your wounds always heal this quickly? Yes, even serious injuries heal fast. The doctor examined Lonnie's arm. The injury from her first arrival was completely gone, although the Duchess had used holy water. It shouldn't have healed this fast, he couldn't explain it. The doctor gave a few instructions and left looking thoughtful. This touched Lonnie. Perhaps she really could live here, however the Duke sternly said enough. For the first time, she had thoughts about her future. She wanted to become a great doctor. Just then, Andy popped his head in from the doorway, inviting Lonnie to play in his room. But Lydia suddenly appeared, acting very friendly. It's so nice to meet you. Let's have some girl time, just us. Okay, Lonnie. Lonnie knew this girl was a true noble lady. Perhaps if she learned from her, she could figure out how to fit in, so she agreed. When no one was looking, Lydia smirked. How would she make things difficult for Lonnie? Just because her brother glanced at her in the crowd, she was targeted by the Marchioness. Pretending to be friendly, she had her maid openly mock Lonnie's lack of manners. Holding the teacup with two hands, making such a racket, it's lowering my lady's standards. Lydia pretended to scold her maid, but she was actually mocking Lonnie for being a country bumpkin. She didn't realize Yes had overheard everything. Yes had run into his younger brother earlier. Now that you've seen the child, that's enough. It's getting late, go back to your rooms. His cold voice saddened Roni. And heard that Lydia had taken Lonnie away. He thought they would get along, being close in age, but a past incident made him worry. A maid had accidentally spilled water on his hand. He hadn't been upset but had asked if she was all right. Afterwards, Lydia had not only verbally abused the maid, but had also punished her physically. Although this situation was different, he was still concerned and decided to check on Lonnie himself. He hadn't expected this. How dare you insult a child under the Duke's protection? Are the Marquis servants always this arrogant? Lydia feigned an apology for her maid, but yes, wasn't buying it. He stood up for Lonnie. This child has the right to do anything here. As for that maid, the Duke's household will handle her punishment. Lydia was trembling with anger but forced a smile in front of Yes. She was already plotting her next move. After leaving the room, Lonnie berated herself for her ignorance. Yes noticed and immediately comforted her. She hadn't expected to have such unrealistic hopes. After all, she had deceived them. You don't have to be so timid. This is our home. They are merely guests. However, his words didn't have the desired effect. Instead, they made the naive girl even more determined to learn proper etiquette. She didn't want to embarrass the Duke's household, and this played right into Lydia's hands. She offered to have Lonnie join her lessons. Lonnie innocently expressed her gratitude. Then an unexpected person appeared, her friend from the orphanage, Pike, who was supposed to be dead. Lonnie rushed forward excitedly to confirm, but the boy acted as if he didn't recognize her at all. Lonnie apologized for her behavior. But Lydia spoke coldly from the side. You don't need to apologize, he's here to take beatings from me. Lonnie didn't understand, but Lydia explained noble aristocrats can't be hit by teachers. Soon, etiquette class officially began. Lonnie, having never had such lessons, made frequent mistakes. This angered the tutor, who was looking for faults. The woman picked up a ruler to hit her. Now only the Duke, Duchess, and Andy remained in the room. The Duchess pleaded with her husband to let Roni stay. If she were returned, she would surely be severely punished. Lydia hypocritically offered the boy beside her to take the punishment. Kind Lonnie couldn't let someone else suffer for her. Lydia, whose scheme had worked, pretended to chinso. The loud sounds of whipping echoed through the hallway. A few days later, Andy, having finished his swordsmanship lesson, went to find Lonnie, but when he opened the door, he was startled. Lonnie looked incredibly chow. Sister, what happened? You look like a skeleton. Who did this? I won't let them get away with it. The sudden concern made Lonnie burst into tears. Just then Yes arrived. The girl suddenly felt ashamed. She covered her face and tried to flee, but before she could leave, just picked her up like a chick. Tell me what happened first. The orphan girl was severely beaten by her tutor for not knowing etiquette. Her haggard appearance worried her second older brother. After receiving his concern, she couldn't control herself and cried as both brothers surrounded her, asking for the reason. Observing Yes noticed the marks on her hands. Andy firmly echoed his mother's plea, but the Duke remained resolute. No matter what, it's not acceptable. He knew she had been hiding something, so he found an excuse to send Andy away. Then he knelt down on one knee and applied ointment to her hands. His gentle movements and serious expression made Lonnie's heart flutter. She wanted Yes to protect her, but he simply told her to rest well and turned to leave. Young master, I want to go with you. I don't want to be alone in my room. Yes, I found this strange. She had a maid assigned to care for her, so how could she be alone? But before he could finish speaking, he realized something was wrong. It was indeed just her there, as if it were an empty room. Even the fireplace wasn't lit. He remembered overhearing the maids planning something that morning. It was targeted at Lonnie, so he wrote a letter to his mother and invited her to Lonnie's room. The Martianists decided to go along. After all, she had orchestrated this whole drama. How could she miss it as they passed Lydia's room? They both disagreed and tried to reason with him. The sounds of crashing and banging came from inside. It turned out her necklace was missing. The girl cried, saying it was a gift from her father and very important. Then, with an innocent look, she mentioned she had been attending classes with Lonnie recently, subtly directing suspicion towards Lonnie. Soon, a pre-planned tea party began. The Martian is continuously flattered and praised Yes, wanting her daughter to marry him. Currently, in the entire empire, only the royal family and the Duke's household possessed divine power. Divine power not only represented authority, but also legitimacy comparable to the royal family. It was said that young Yes had already manifested his divine power. If they married, everything would be hers. However, Yes wasn't very willing to engage with his presumptuous aunt. So he targeted Lonnie. First, with a few words, he made the girl appear flustered due to nervousness. Then he signaled to a maid, instructing her to accidentally spill tea, staining the carpet. Afterward, he feigned surprise and produced the hidden necklace, accusing Lonnie of stealing it, claiming that was why she was so nervous. How could you be so ungrateful? The Duke's household has been so kind to you, and you do something so despicable. But the Duke added, she's just unbearably cute, I really should have a daughter. The falsely accused Lonnie anxiously explained she had never seen the necklace before. But the woman pressed on aggressively, you dare to lie, see, lowborn people are simply incurable. Lonnie wanted to explain but couldn't speak. She instinctively looked at Yes and saw his face was grim. Was he also angry with her? Just then the Duchess stood up, attempting to stop the farce. Hitting a child is already unforgivable, and now you want to slander her without any evidence. The woman was shocked but refused to admit anything. She even portrayed herself as the victim, as the two were at a standstill. Yes rebuked his aunt. As an adult, shouldn't you feel ashamed? Then he immediately switched his demeanor and comforted Lonnie. Don't worry, Lolo, we will protect you. So what exactly happened? One second the boy had a fierce expression towards others. The next he was beaming at his sister. This scene made Lydia tremble with jealousy. You actually believe what that little wretch says? Yes, face instantly turned cold. The Marchioness became even more indignant. The evidence is clear. How can you only believe her? This is clearly an insult to us. Marquis, I will not let this go. She thought the Duke would be furious and send her back. His friend had always boasted about his daughter. He hadn't expected that trying to find a playmate for his son would result in finding a girl. Just then the Duke entered. You were the one who crossed the lines. He ignored his sister's attempts to explain and walked directly towards Lonnie. He gently took the girl's hand and apologized. I'm sorry, Lolo, I didn't know any of this. He glared furiously at his sister, Sophia. He heard she was the one responsible for Lonnie's condition. She looked guilty, but insisted it was the tutor's doing and had nothing to do with her. But the Duke wasn't fooled. Only a tutor benefiting from your support would dare do such a thing in the Duke's household. As this child's guardian, I have the right to punish you. You should find another godfather. The woman was in disbelief. Her brother was abandoning her because of that little brat, even at the risk of antagonizing the Marquis household. But clearly his stance was firm. Lydia roared furiously. Who does he think he is? Uncle, you're actually going to take him as your son. You're rejecting me for that lowly orphan. Sophia, understanding the situation, didn't say anything more. She took her daughter and left, grumbling angrily. Perhaps it was fate. He decided to let the girl stay for the time being. However, he would still consider the matter of formally adopting her. The Duke signaled, dismissing everyone except the relatively young Andy and Lonnie. Preparing for a major house cleaning, call all the servants in the house to me now. Meanwhile, Lonnie held the necklace, intending to return it to Lydia herself. After all, it looked quite valuable, but as soon as they opened the door, Lydia furiously charged at them. She raised her hand to strike Lonnie hard across the face. But Andy unhesitatingly stepped in front of her despite the stinging pain on his face. He grinned, trying to act cool. Wasn't I just super cool? Anyone who saw that would think I'm a handsome older brother, right? Lydia, enraged, yelled, Lonnie is the biggest troublemaker in this family. The usually timid girl suddenly stepped forward. Her gaze firm as she advanced, causing Lydia to stumble backward. Unexpectedly, Lonnie simply grabbed Lydia's hand and returned the necklace. Thank you, Mississippi. Thanks to you. I've learned a lot. I'll take your words as a lesson and I won't cause any more trouble here. This decision would make things much easier for their future relationship. The Duchess was happy but also puzzled. The girl the Duke brought back from the orphanage was bullied. The Duke, furious, summoned all the maids. Everyone whispered, unsure of what had happened. Only the governess who had struck Lonnie fell guilty. Unable to leave with a Marchioness, she was intercepted by the guards. Ein, standing behind, was filled with remorse. Although he had tried his best to be kind to Lonnie, he hadn't been able to stop the other maids from mistreating her. Therefore, he felt responsible, and there was the boy who, for trying to reason with the enraged Lydia, had been struck with a cane and left there. Just then, the Duke descended the stairs. He asked if they knew why they had been summoned. Seeing no one answered, he walked directly to the governess and demanded to know what she had done wrong. The woman remained stubbornly silent, refusing to confess. The Duke got straight to the point. You physically punished the future Duke and Duchess of the Mars family. The other two maids involved instantly pale. They hadn't realized a maid could be so important. The Duke's expression was grim, his words even more frightening. I am stripping you of the title bestowed upon you by the former Duke. Get out of my territory. If he hadn't intended to send Ronnie away, why did he put on such a frightening expression and tell her to leave? It turned out the Duke simply thought Ronnie looked tired and wanted her to go and rest. Judging by everyone's reaction, the punishment was clearly considered severe. Although the Duke shared this concern, he knew that without drastic measures, Lonnie might experience such treatment again. From now on, I will question each of you. I already know everything, so don't even think about lying to me. Meanwhile, Lonnie stared blankly at the necklace Lydia had discarded. Andy, not wanting her to dwell on it, tossed the necklace away. It's nothing important. Lonnie then remembered and urged Andy to go see a doctor immediately. The boy scratched his head sheepishly. If you call me Big Brother, I think it'll stop hurting. The girl asked innocently, but shouldn't you put some medicine on it to make it feel better? Just then, Lonnie saw a group of people leaving the mansion with their luggage. Among them was the boy who had been beaten. Close behind him was the maid Ein. She ran over happily and asked him where he was going. Ein stammered, unable to speak. At that moment, the butler stepped forward and asked Lonnie if she knew the person in front of her. She's the older sister, who's been kind to me ever since I arrived. Ein smiled, touched, but still didn't say a word in her own defense. The butler then explained that the Duke and Duchess had ordered them to leave. Lonnie froze in shock. The next second she burst into tears, crying out no. Andy added, Father's expression just now looked like he was going to eat someone. The Duke, for the sake of the girl he brought back from the orphanage, was cleaning house. Watching the maids pack their belongings, he trembled with anger. Both the Duke and Duchess felt a pang of guilt. If they had been more attentive, this wouldn't have happened. Therefore, the Duke expelled everyone without providing letters of recommendation. This effectively ruined their resumes, making it difficult for them to find new jobs. They assumed Yes would find the punishment too harsh. However, the opposite was true. He even felt it wasn't enough. After all, the way they treated Lonnie was unforgivable. The Duchess believed it was sufficient. The child was fragile, and excessive punishment might be counterproductive. It was best to keep this matter from her. However, just then, the butler rushed in with an urgent report. The young lady had found out and was crying outside. Lonnie was clutching Ein's dress, refusing to let her go. As soon as the Duchess appeared, Lonnie rushed forward, begging her not to stand on a way. The Duchess assumed there had been a misunderstanding, but I didn't see it that way. The Duke panicked. His first impression had been so terrible. Meanwhile, Roni was overjoyed to learn she could stay, but she was terrified when she heard the Duke was coming downstairs. She blamed herself. She had witnessed the mistreatment but hadn't been able to stop them. Kind-hearted Lonnie quickly stepped forward and said that I hadn't done anything wrong. When she first arrived, I was the only one who spoke to her kindly, so I want you to stay here. The maid was deeply moved. Such a small act of kindness had been remembered. This scene brought a smile to the Duchess's face. You're the first person she's ever wanted to keep this much, then you'll be her personal maid. I was 1,000 times willing. Although I'm unworthy if given the chance, I will certainly take the best care of Mississippi. Then Lonnie noticed the boy in the crowd. She spoke again, feeling shy. Madam, could you please let him stay too? If he goes back, he'll just be beaten again. The Duchess readily agreed to such a small request. Everyone immediately began to murmur. A personal maid was a position usually held by a senior servant with years of experience. Ein was incredibly lucky, led by the maid with dark purple hair. After all, his expression earlier had indeed been quite frightening. Everyone knelt down and begged Lonnie to give them another chance. Yes wouldn't hear of it. He drew his sword and placed it on the maid's shoulder. Enough, you should be grateful you're only being expelled. The boy ordered the guards to drag the others away. He turned and smiled, inviting Lonnie to return with him. I looked on as if witnessing something incredibly sweet, and poor Andy was left forgotten in the corner. I'll feel relieved once these matters are resolved before leaving. Young master, where are you going? The holiday is almost over. I'll return to the academy tomorrow. This way the timing won't be too tight. Lonnie's heart suddenly started racing, and Yes seemed to notice it, so he joked. Don't you want me to leave? Then I won't go. The orphanage girl finally called him brother. The young master was about to return to school. Lonnie suddenly felt very lost. Seeing this, the boy took out a heart-shaped candy and suddenly leaned in. Don't you want me to leave? Then I won't go. Lonnie suddenly felt very embarrassed. How could I stop you from leaving? Yes gently patted her head, telling her to wait here immediately. Just then, Andy came running over resentfully. He grabbed Lonnie and scolded his brother. Just then, the Duke knocked and entered, but the girl was already hiding by the bed, trembling. Lolo is my brother, you can't take him away. Yes pretended to be hurt. You used to follow me around saying you like me the most. Have fun, kids, I'm leaving first. Lonnie thought Yes was returning to the academy now. but actually he wanted to practice sword fighting before dinner. Andy's eyes immediately lit up, and Lonnie beside him also wanted to go. So she gathered her courage and said she wanted to serve the young master, like serving tea and water. But Yes firmly refused. "I don't need anyone to serve me. Just watch as a sister from the side." Lonnie responded happily but habitually called him young master. At this, the cunning Yes changed his mind. Andy reminded her she should call him brother, then he couldn't wait to hear it. Seeing Lonnie struggling to say, the two pretended to turn and leave. "Did you get some rest?" Ronnie answered loudly and nodded vigorously. Only then did Lonnie shout, "Brother, take me with you too." This struck right at the hearts of both boys. The three happily headed to the training ground. Soon Yes began his training. Although Lonnie didn't understand swordsmanship, she thought from the bottom of her heart that brother was amazing. At this time, Andy suddenly appeared, shouting that even if brother is cool, she can't fall for him. Lolo can only be his sister. He tried hard to swing his sword, and Lolo played along saying it was cool, asking if both brothers would become knights. Actually, it's about inheriting the family. To become the family head, one must be acknowledged by the sacred object. The Ducal family's sacred object is the Spear of Ares. Swordsmanship is just the basic requirement, so we must keep training. After Yes finished speaking, he went to store his sword, while the usually optimistic Andy became gloomy because he believed his brother would soon resonate with the sacred object. Since childhood, everyone had high expectations for brother, so Andy, with his ordinary talents, wasn't as carefree as he appeared. Just then, Sir Kaz in charge of security arrived. Lonnie just politely curtsied, instantly melting the heart of this tough man. "Thank you so much for letting me stay here. I'm so sorry I didn't greet you properly right away." And the man brought Andy's new playmates. It was Lo and the boy who got beaten up. Here it comes. The sweet scene of 3 boys and 1 girl is coming. The Duke's second son has a new playmate, but he was clearly unhappy because having Lolo alone was enough. But when Lohan said he came to be a playmate and practice partner, his attitude changed instantly. "So you're here to learn swordsmanship first? You should have said that earlier. Let me be your special teacher." Who's teaching who? And he protested loudly when questioned by his brother. "Of course I'll teach him. I'm better than brother at least. Brother's just good himself. He has no talent for teaching." Yes remained expressionless. He directly gave a super strong forehead flick, sending his brother flying to the ground. The two played and fought, showing their closeness. Seeing this, Lowen took Lonnie to sit aside. Circus watched the 4 adorable children, showing a satisfied fatherly smile. If that happened, she would be beaten to death by the headmaster, just like her friend. The Duke wondered what she had gone through to be so afraid. "I'm not here to apologize," he reassured her softly. Soon it was time for Yes to leave. Lonnie sobbed reluctantly. The boy wiped his sister's tears with a handkerchief and told her to have fun at home. "New be back soon." Afterwards, Lonnie was sat alone in her room. "I came in with desserts, saying eating this will make you feel better." Indeed, children's emotions change so easily. She happily started eating. "Young master, Yes said you would like this chocolate." "Indeed, I feel much better." Ayn felt much more relieved seeing this. "Lonnie has only asked, why are you so kind to me?" Ayn paused for a second, then enthusiastically expressed her affection. "When I first saw you, I was reminded of my sister. She was a very well-behaved child like you, miss, but please don't be like her because heaven takes good children away too early." Lonnie empathized and was about to cry. "I'm here to give you a new name." It turned out the Duchess had suggested this. "I also had a very good friend who passed away early. That's why I want to become a doctor to help those good children." I was moved by her kindness on the spot, encouraging her to start studying hard from now on. However, in the next second, she pointed to the door and said the same thing as the Duke. "Go out now. For children, playing outside is the best learning." At this moment, the Duke looked at Lonnie thoughtfully. They had already decided to adopt. But before that, they needed to confirm if her birth parents were still alive. According to the orphanage director, when that person entrusted the child to them, they said she was a noble child and should be well cared for. So who exactly was Lonnie's true identity? The orphanage girl finally started learning. Just a few days ago, the Duchess asked her friend Lady Prolin to teach Lonnie and hoped she could set a slower pace for the lessons. Not only to avoid discouraging the child, but also to leave more time for Lonnie to play outdoors. However, Lonnie was very serious. Her learning enthusiasm was high, carefully copying what the teacher wrote. Her adorable appearance was very endearing. Just as the teacher was about to teach her other people's names, Lonnie asked with a blush, "Could you teach me brother yes name first?" The teacher gladly agreed and directly wrote out his full name. When they were expecting their eldest, they had considered a girl's name. It would suit her perfectly. Lonnie stared at the paper with her heart racing, clearly looking like a lovesick young girl. The teacher saw through her thoughts immediately. However, since the Duchess was about to adopt her, their path ahead might be a bit rocky. Soon came Lonnie's first time going out. The maid told her they were going to buy things for brother Andy today. Lonnie was very excited about this outing, and so was I, but she was happy because she could have a thorough dress obsession. Why do we need to do this? Because this is a memorable first outing. I have many styles I want Miss to try. This is so exciting. Let's begin. After a while, the Duke and the others waited at the door. Anna just finished preparing Lonnie. Andy rushed in eagerly. The moment they saw the girl, everyone was stunned. She's so cute. Lolo is already cute, but today she's even more adorable. Lonnie happily thanked her brother, and Andy quoted what he had just learned from a novel. Your name will be Lonnie, Lonnie Evelyn. The girl remained silent. My sister, I don't care about anyone else. Everyone was amused. The Duke picked up Lonnie. The four of them set off towards the village. On the way, the girl was speechless at the sights before her. Andy proudly stated there would be many more interesting things in the future. Lonnie responded with genuine happiness. This pleased the Duke very much. The three exchanged knowing glances. Actually, today's shopping trip was the Duchess's idea. In the mansion, nothing belonged to Lonnie personally. She had been using things they had prepared for their future daughter. That's why the maids thought Lonnie would leave soon, so this trip was specifically to shop for Lonnie. But the girl was too cautious, so to prevent her from refusing, they lied about shopping for Andy. Then they could buy her lots of things under the pretext of matching outfits. Everything was going according to plan. The girl's first outing to choose clothes for her brother turned into everyone focusing on her instead. Soon they brought over piles of items. This made the Duke think she didn't like it, but then with tears in her eyes, she thanked him for such a beautiful name. This scene really startled her. At this point, the Duke appeared to stop Andy and his wife's behavior. Saying they would frighten Lolo this way, yet he himself pulled out a chosen dress, seriously stating Lolo would prefer this. The girl was completely dizzy, unable to understand what was happening. She just stood there holding a ribbon, lost in thought. The Duchess caringly asked if there was nothing she liked. Lonnie had to voice her confusion. Weren't we here to buy things for brother? This doesn't seem suitable for him. Andy overheard this nearby. He hurriedly explained they were always together, so anything that looked good on Lolo he would like. Unexpectedly, Lonnie pulled out a colorful ribbon, saying she felt it would suit him. Andy completely fell apart inside, but could only reluctantly accept it. Seeing this, the Duke began his plan. Since Andy has found something suitable, let's pick something for Lolo too. Lonnie thought she already had plenty, so she wanted to decline. Andy immediately clung to her. I want to match outfits with Lolo. That way everyone will know Lolo is my sister. Her sweet smile instantly captivated the Duke. He immediately ordered the maids to prepare the room his younger sister had used for her. Even so, Lonnie still looked very hesitant. At this point, the Duke directly bought out the entire store. Since we don't know what you like, we have to do this. If you tell us what you like, we'll just buy that instead. Lonnie was truly shocked by this extravagant gesture, but she still kept her head down without any response. The observant Andy noticed his sister kept staring at some shoes, so he spoke up for her. Meeting the expecting gazes of the three, Lonnie bravely expressed her liking. However, the Duke secretly told the clerk, pack all the clothes that match these shoes, but don't let the child know. The clerk secretly rejoiced at this windfall. Soon Lonnie came out wearing her new shoes. They headed to the bustling market. The dazzling array of goods was absolutely delightful. Andy excitedly pulled Lonnie along as they ran, but they suddenly encountered a galloping carriage. Fortunately, it only passed by and neither was hurt. The Duke angrily ordered Andy, run around again and you're out. This made the maids furious. They cursed under their breath. How can a lowly orphan live in that room? But just then, Lonnie's ribbon was blown away by the wind. She hurriedly chased after it, but the three behind her didn't notice. The girl chased it into a small alley. Suddenly, a boy's voice came from behind. Are you looking for this? Who was this blonde boy who just appeared? The girl had chased the ribbon at lightning speed. She encountered a blonde boy because he was so cute. The boy deliberately held the ribbon high. Lonnie's dazed expression at this made him laugh. Here, take it. Seeing Lonnie's hesitation, the boy teased, Do you want to stay with me longer? Is that why you won't take it? Lonnie quickly grabbed it. I'm just joking, Miss Lonnie. You just reminded me of my sister. Clearly, the boy knew her as Lonnie hadn't mentioned her name. The boy avoided eye contact, said nothing more, and simply pointed out the way back. Then he disappeared, though puzzled by the boy's identity. Lonnie hurried back, the Duke saw her and immediately rushed over. Checking if she was hurt, the Duchess hugged her tightly, concerned about her condition. Andy even started crying, blaming himself for not protecting her. This genuine warmth deeply moved Lonnie. Suddenly, the Duke, who was about to leave, said, "There's something I forgot to mention." The maid smirked, thinking there was no way the Duke would let an orphan live in such a nice room. After returning, I asked how she felt about her first outing. Lonnie happily showed off the shoes the Duke bought her and told about meeting the blonde boy. "I'd suggest that he might have been an elf. Legend says elves appear to help children in trouble." The innocent Lonnie believed it immediately. After all, the boy did look very much like an elf. However, at that moment she thought a brother Yes, thinking brother Yes was still more handsome. Just then, butler Grandpa knocked and entered, saying visitors had come wanting to see Lonnie. It was Crown Prince Maurice and his family. Princess Bianca asked curiously, "Is that child even cuter than me?" And he proudly replied, "Of course, when you see her, you'll be shocked." The princess still looked completely unconvinced. However, the moment she saw Lonnie next, she immediately ran over, chattering excitedly around Lonnie. "Oh my God, are you a doll or an angel? Even your hands are like a baby's. How is this possible? I used to be this small and cute too, though she was only a year older than Lonnie. Your name is Lola, right? You can call me BB." Lonnie looked completely confused. Butler Grandpa said the Crown Princess family had come, so this girl before her must be a real princess. It was truly unbelievable. Now the two childish ones began fighting over Lonnie, and then the long-absent prince arrived. But the Duke, with a serious expression, said, "Your nickname is Lolo, remember that." Both the maids and Lonnie were stunned. The boy was actually the elf she had met in the alley earlier that day. "Miss Lonnie, you can call me Henry." The girl, with her extremely cute appearance, had captured the hearts of both princess and prince. She just drew a cartoon portrait, and the princess absolutely loved it, repeatedly praising both the drawing and the artist as adorable. The shy Lonnie gathered her courage and said the princess was very cute too. The two went back and forth like this. The teacher, watching their interaction, was quite pleased. Although the princess's presence slowed down the lesson progress, Lonnie's face showed many more smiles. Then Lonnie noticed the doll on the princess's lap. After getting permission, she held it and touched it all over. The lifelike appearance and soft texture were irresistible. "Lolo, don't you have dolls? Ask the Duke to buy you some. He can buy you 100 of them." Though Lonnie liked them, she was too shy to express it, so the princess offered to help ask, which frightened Lonnie into repeatedly refusing. Just then, the prince knocked and entered, looking very serious. He said his sister was disturbing Lonnie's lesson again, though he was doing the same. The teacher secretly sighed, realizing today's lesson was completely derailed. Lomi nervously stood up and curtsied, but the prince smiled and told her to relax. The girl's luck had changed dramatically. From an orphan, she had become the Duke's second son's playmate. On her first night at the Duke's mansion, she had a nightmare. They seemed quite familiar with each other, though appearing calm, his ears were completely red. Bianca instantly understood. She leaned in with a mischievous grin. Clearly, her brother had fallen in love, only Lonnie remained. Clueless, still smiling innocently. Actually, Henry had already heard about Lonnie from Andy's letters. He just didn't expect her to be even cuter than described. "I heard you're taking music lessons." "Yes, I'm learning musical notes. To learn well, you need to listen to good music." "Perhaps I can help you." Lonnie was very supportive, and Bianca proudly said her brother was excellent at piano. Sure enough, melodious piano music began the next moment. It was so beautiful it made her heart leap. Love-struck Lonnie thought of brother Yes again, though she felt something was different. Before she could collect her thoughts, the music had ended. The prince generously offered. The Duchess, now aware of the truth, was in a predicament, but she still instructed the maids to give Roni a proper bath and dress her. She dreamed of the time she was falsely accused and beaten by the headmaster. He could send his own teacher to teach her. He had been teaching the royal family for years and would surely be very helpful. However, this wasn't free, and so when Andy pushed open the door, this was the scene he encountered. "Henry, how dare you touch Lolo without my permission? Only I can touch Lolo's face." Their quarreling made Bianca laugh heartily. Then the three childish ones began fighting over Lonnie. That evening, Lonnie was about to tell the madam about the prince's offer to send a teacher, but she happened to overhear their conversation. It seemed the royal family's divine power was reaching its peak. They might target the crown prince, and the culprit was Countess Castor. Lonnie suddenly felt something strange in her heart. So she opened the door and asked, "Who is this Countess Castor you just mentioned?" She was an orphan with no relatives, yet hearing Countess Castor for the first time made her heart ache inexplicably. So she curiously asked who Castor was, but received an unexpected answer. She is the emperor's mistress and also the actual power holder in the palace. The cruel maid, seeing that she was still asleep, angrily woke her up. To put her own son in the crown prince position, she would stop at nothing. The Duchess, not wanting Lonnie to learn about such unpleasant matters too early, quickly into the conversation. "Did you come here for something?" "All right, Prince Henry said he'd send a music teacher to teach me. He mentioned the teacher had taught the princess before." "Did he mention the teacher's name?" "I think it started with an A, however, there were too many names starting with A, so she accidentally revealed key information." The next day, Andy and the prince began a duel. They made a bet on the outcome of this match. After several rounds, Andy was defeated. Levin thoughtfully brought towels for both of them. Andy recalled their recent interactions and thought she was still a very kind person. Just then, Lonnie and the princess arrived. Everyone reacted enthusiastically. Annie noticed Levin's eyes were sparkling, looking very happy. Lonnie was startled. She bolted upright in bed, gasping for air. "Could this guy like Lola?" "Absolutely not. My sister can only be mine." So he quickly rushed forward to block. Seeing his sister looking a bit down, he decided to show off his recent training results. He took up his sword stance, then swung with force. The sword's energy instantly swept up scattered leaves. Lolo praised him for being amazing, then quickly turned to ask the princess what she thought. Her expression clearly showed she was impressed. Andy happily ran towards his sister, but Henry stopped him early. "Have you forgotten our bet? Today I have the rights to Marani's cheeks." So that's what their duel was about. Andy felt immediately humiliated but still wanted to cheat. "Lolo's face belongs to Lolo. Only she can decide who can touch it." "Didn't you say yesterday we needed your permission?" "I don't care, that's all invalid now." "Lolo, you tell us whose face is it?" Faced with 3 expecting gazes. It was clear she was terrified, but the maid didn't care. Who would Lonnie choose? Because she was just too cute. 3 handsome boys competing for the privilege to touch her cheeks. Lonnie became extremely nervous when suddenly put on the spot. The prince smiled and told her not to worry. "If you don't want me to, I absolutely won't touch you." Andy confidently thought Lonnie would definitely choose him. After all, he was her brother. The prince also believed he would be chosen since he had always maintained a cool image. Even Levin couldn't help but harbor his small hope. This scene was just like an ancient emperor choosing his consort. Bianca was overjoyed on the side. Who wouldn't want to ship couples in such a romantic novel scenario? Just then, the Duke appeared. Since the knight's training was about to begin, they needed to return to the mansion. This was exactly the savior she needed. Lonnie tugged at the Duke's pants, gathering her courage. She said, "Please be the owner of my cheeks. Duke can touch my face anytime." The 2 boys were instantly crushed. The Duke, unaware of the situation, smiled and picked her up. "Though I don't know what game you're playing, I'm happy you chose me." She currently told her to get up and wash. Then they walked inside, chatting and laughing. The princess consoled her brother not to be discouraged. After all, the Duke was indeed more handsome. Well, that didn't help console him at all. Soon came the day of partying.